So today, we'd like to basically have a little chat and discussion on the topic of post-COVID, after this pandemic. And so I'd like to pose some questions, which have actually been chosen from a large selection. And we believe that these questions are most suitable for panelists as well as for the audience. So first, I'd like to direct this question to all panelists.
We're not supposed to rewrite credit modeling because this is not the way, because we have a pandemic and then we have to rewrite everything. That is impossible. However, credit modeling is basically data analytics thing, situation change, and then we have to change something. Credit modeling, most of the time, it's about historical data, and then you predict something in the future. Now, this is more or less like feng shui to me. Correct? Right. This is feng shui. Okay, so credit modeling itself is a feng shui thing. So the idea is we might want to change something in the modeling. But how do we change it? I'm not suggesting anyone to change the micromanagement side of it. You might want to change some macro management side of credit modeling. Like give you simple examples. Like 3 years ago, if your clients are big restaurants, airlines, big hotel chains, your credit risk modeling would be saying that these are good people. So basically, the nature of business is important in credit risk modeling. But you're not supposed to, profitability, cash flow, things like that is also important. But you just want to change the big thing instead of the small thing, and then you should be good. The worst case scenario is you try to change everything and rewrite your credit risk model. That is not what I suggest.
So Vincenzo, what are your thoughts on this then?
No, I agree a lot with what was just said, especially by Bobby. We took a look at our own models, especially now that we're getting the financials for 2020 being published in some of the countries where we have credit scores. So we did look at how it has been affected by the pandemic. The first thing I would mention is, again, I agree with you, Bobby, you don't require a huge change, in the sense that we have found that the modeling is pretty sturdy and it still works when you're talking about rank ordering your clients, because it's been a systemic hit. Everybody's been hit. So maybe everybody's score has shifted down, but the rank ordering of people with the model still works. There are a few exceptions to that, and that is where we are changing our own modeling analysis. The first is, you also were mentioning it, there are some industries that have been particularly affected. Obviously, the travel, food and beverage, those have been very much affected. So we are putting a bit of a dampener based on industry, sector specific, on our scoring for companies that are within those sectors. The other two effects that we are seeing is, if we're looking not at the rank ordering, but at the single scoring for a company, obviously we are, right now you would over penalize companies that have negative data, because you just look at it by itself, you would see negative data, you would see this is a bad company. No, there's been a global pandemic, and obviously there are factors that weigh in on that, so you shouldn't over penalize companies. At the same time, in a lot of the countries where we operate, governments are stepping in with cash financing, with looser credit for banks, with direct help to companies. Now, those companies would be scored overly positive because they would have no impact from the pandemic as opposed to the other, but it's actually a governmental issue rather than that. So again, I agree with you. You don't have to throw the score out the window. You don't have to redo it, but you need to be careful about these three factors: specific sectors, not to score too negatively people that have cash flow issues because of the pandemic, and not to say, oh, this company is fine because they received a government grant. That's not being fine. That's just being okay, and then we'll see the real deal once they finish this money.
We have a general consensus that the overall policy is basically you don't need to rewrite the rules, but you just need to tighten the what you actually have in place at the moment.